We all joke about it. It's like the original guitar meme. And I'm sure a lot of you already know the riff. I mean, it's one of the first things that I teach in my intro to electric guitar video here on YouTube. And this is a little embarrassing, but I gotta admit, even though I've been making jokes about this song for the last 20 years, up until a few days ago, I'd never actually played through the entire thing. And, you know, to avoid embarrassment, I figure I'd help you learn how to do the same. Because it's not just a classic riff, there's the rest of the song. So let's take a look through the entire thing today. It's actually really simple to play and super fun. And as long as you can stay clear and avoid playing this at the local guitar store, I'm sure nobody's going to give you a hard time for enjoying this one. We start off with our main riff. Sorry, I'm playing a Gibson here, so my D and G strings, which is where that riff is entirely contained, are consistently out of tune. That's a feature on Gibson guitars, actually. All right, so let's try that in tune this time. And when we're learning it, it's easier to do it just on one string, just on the D string, just going 0, 3, 5, 0, 3, 6, 5. Using my ring finger for both of those. 0, 3, 5, 3, 0. And it's important to pay attention to the counting. You know, the first bit's easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, that's super simple. But then on the and of 4, everything's syncopated here. 3 and 4. And 1, and 2, and 3. So on the and of 4, the and after 1, the and after 2. It's really important to take the time to slow things down. You know, you could just look at the top of the screen there, count it out. 3 and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. You know, and really sharpen up your playing, continuing on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and. So the same sort of thing. It starts off on the beats, but then those last two notes are syncopated. Take your time, do it on one string, count it out. And then you do it on two strings. And I like to put my ring finger on the B string. That way, I don't accidentally get it when I'm doing this. And I pluck, and then I stop the strings with my hand right after. To, you know, so it's not like... You know, that's like the guitar store way of playing it, right? You know, if you want to play it like Ritchie Blackmore, you're going to have the notes be like punchy, you know, and shorter by muting with your hand. And that's the main riff. And if you're having a bit of trouble sort of wrapping your mind around the lead guitar stuff, I have that first electric guitar lesson if you're absolutely new to it. But I also have an ebook designed for lead guitar and for all the basics. It's completely free for all my subscribers. I'll put a link to that in the corner and down below. Anyways, the verse goes like this. So we're just playing a power chord shape. My index is on the 3rd fret of the thickest string, ring finger on the 5th fret of the next string, my pinky just under it. This is an essential shape for electric guitar. Because you can play like a zillion Weezer songs with it. Super cool. All the Nirvana, all the grunge era is power chord based, as well as like tons of classic rock, AC/DC, etc. Anyways, we have that chord. It's a G5. And we can just pluck from the thickest string, go through the 3 thicker strings, just going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and over again. Once again, we count out loud. You know, slow and steady. We match up the playing with the counting because that's what makes you sound good. And another thing we can do is we can palm mute just by lightly overlapping the strings. You do it too much and you don't get anything. Too little and it barely makes a difference or doesn't make a difference. And we do that 5 times and then we go. So I have my index finger down on the 3rd fret of the A string and the 3rd fret of the D string, just flattening it the same way that I was playing that initial riff, you know, by flattening my fingers onto it. But here we're on the A string and the D string, and we go D, A, D, you know, same rhythm, and then back to, and technically that's an F chord. That's the top end of an F power chord, but it's easier to just leave your hand in this position rather than go, because then you get all those squeakies. And that's the first half of the verse, pretty straightforward. The second half starts off the exact same way, but when we get to the end of it, we can go. And that's copying a bit of the bass line, but it sounds super cool when you do it on guitar, and, you know, makes you look a little more pro, right? So for that, we're just playing our usual thing, but once we get to the top note, then we descend on a pentatonic scale. So let's take a look at all those notes. Doing our usual thing, and then I'm going to lift my index and put it onto the 3rd fret of the D string. I lift everything else up, and then I'm going to go 5, 3 with my ring and index, and then use my pinky for the 6th fret of the thickest string, and my index landing on that G, that 3rd fret of the thickest string. And that leads us into the chorus. Smoke. So basically for our verse, we just do it in the simpler way a whole bunch of times, and then I think the 4th time, as we're about to get into the chorus, we go like this. Smoke. And that leads us perfectly into the chorus, which is the next section that we'll cover, and it's simpler than that. We just have a C power chord, so my index is on the 3rd fret of the A string, and the rest of the shape follows suit. You don't have to think about where these fingers are going. They're just making the shape. You know, your ring finger is always going to be 2 frets higher and on the next string, and your pinky's going to be underneath it. That's why it's a shape. You know, it doesn't matter where you play it. So we have our C chord, and we just strum it once, 3, 4, and then we go to A flat. So I'm going to put my index on the 4th fret of the thickest string, 2, 3, 4, following our shape, and then you know, a fire in the sky. Once again, we're taking elements of that bass line because they sound super cool and they're going to make you better at guitar. And then that lick, we are missing on beat 1, or we're just not doing anything, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So I have my ring finger on the 3rd fret of the thickest string and my index on the 1st fret of the A string. And this is a pentatonic riff, believe it or not. And we go between those 2 notes a couple times. And then we go down to the 1st fret of the thickest string and back up to the 3rd fret. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we do that again, except we cut off the last note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And then we just play Honk on the water, back into our riff. And that's it. That's all the parts of this song. You just master each part separately, and then you try to play along with the recording, or you look up the words online and kind of use that as a guide for the order to play all these parts in. If you enjoy learning guitar with me, don't forget to grab your copy of my free lead guitar ebook, or to check out my course, The Complete Lead Guitarist, which doesn't just teach you like how to follow the tab. You know, I don't want to do that. I want to teach you how to actually speak through your electric guitar, and it's absolutely beginner friendly. We cover all the stuff that you need. You know, it's not like memorizing a bunch of scales. It's like learning how to talk on guitar and to express yourself and to, you know, put two and two together and be able to go to a jam session and play with your friends and like have the most fun with it. 'Cause that's my favorite thing to do, is to get my electric guitar and go play in bands. You know, it's awesome. A close second is like strumming my acoustic guitar at like the, you know, Christmas or parties and stuff. That's cool too, but electric guitar is just like a little bit cooler. Anyways, if you enjoy learning guitar with me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.